Remember the Golf GTI Club Sport, the most powerful version of the Golf GTI ever. This is the new, even more powerful version. It's called the VW Golf GTI Club Sport S. And there's a bit more at play here than just an extra continent. Limited to 400 cars worldwide, the Club Sport S winds the GTI's 2.0-liter turbos power up to 306 bhp. Even more than the AWD Golf R. Carries some substantial chassis tweaks, loses a fair bit of weight. Some of it by chucking away the rear seats, and has recently garnered the coveted lap record for a front-wheel drive production car at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, which, appropriately enough, is where we've tested it. The power hike from 261 bhp in the Club Sport to 306 bhp in the Club Sport S comes largely from a larger, freer-breathing exhaust system. For the first time on a modern VW performance car, the speed limiter's been removed, allowing the S to hit 165 miles per hour flat out, a figure that would be higher were it not for that big rear spoiler. All that power flows through the regular GTI's manual gearbox rather than the DSG Auto, since the dual clutch box's extra weight would have negated its kicker shifts. Aside from losing the rear seats, some of the sound-deadening material has also been deleted, as has the variable height boot floor, and an aluminum front subframe has been fitted. The net result is a claimed 1,360 kilograms curb weight. Unusually for a hot hatch, there's significant downforce, too. Those flared nostrils and that spoiler aren't for show, transforming the standard Golf GTI 60 kilograms of aerodynamic lift at top speed, not unusual for a car of this type, to a total of 25 kilograms of downforce, 17 kilograms of which is concentrated over the rear axle. There's resultant drag, of course, down the Nordschleife's enormous Dottinger Hohe straight. The Club Sport's noticeably slower than its rivals, VW says, but it claws the time back in the corners. The suspensions come in for a detailed rejig, with far more negative camber at the front courtesy of brand new and very expensive to manufacture subframe knuckles, with the aim of making the car as stable as possible when braking and turning at the same time, something drivers have to do quite a lot of on the Nordschleife. There's been much electronic calibration tweakery, too, setting the ring record 7 meters 49.2 seconds, a full 1.4 seconds quicker than the previous FWD champ, Honda's Civic Type R. Simply wouldn't be possible with passive dampers. The electronically controlled shocks play a huge role in helping the Club Sport monster the tracks, curbs, yumps and cambers. The comfort mode in the car's driving profiles is identical to the damper settings used for the Nürburgring record lap. The brakes have also been modified, with pads that are more heat-resistant and lighter aluminum brake pods, said to lend the driver's foot more precise control. And last but not least, a great deal of credit for the car's abilities also goes to its super sticky Michelin Pilot Cup tires, especially developed for the Club Sport, soft enough to sink a thumbnail into. They're worth as much as 5 seconds a lap in the dry, we're told, although they're quite difficult in the wet. One of the impressive things about the Club Sport S is that despite its lap-time-busting agility, it's not an intimidating car to drive. Rather than handling on a knife edge, it's very neutral, with a safe bias towards reassuring, but not frustrating, understeer when driven below 10/10, and incredible stability under hard braking. Perhaps the car's most remarkable facet is the way its dampers handle bumps. It's possible to take enormous liberties with the Nordschleife's curbs. Benny Leuchter, the seriously handy driver who set the car's record-breaking time, not just once but on 3 separate laps, incidentally, says he's only ever driven 3 cars that can take the same curb-hopping lines the Club Sport S can, and they're endurance racers with full race suspension. On the way out of corners, the Club Sport S summons incredible traction for a front drive car. The electronically controlled mechanical limited slip differential, the same unit fitted to the regular Golf GTI as part of the optional performance pack, hauls the car up to speed and actively tightens its line. Its effect felt all the more keenly through the new front suspension geometry. 306 bhp through one axle? No problem. In the dry, at least. The steering feels sharper, keener than a regular GTI's, largely as a result of the altered front toe and camber angles, though thankfully retains the confidence-inspiring linearity of the standard car's variable rate steering rack. You can feel the reduced curb weight in the way the car responds, and hear it in the unfiltered sound of gravel spattering the rear arches and various pyrotechnic noises coming from the high-performance exhaust system. It's almost but not quite as vocal as a Renault Sport Megane, the RS Megane, and the Civic Type R for that matter. Feel more aggressive, less polished than the Club Sport S, and some might argue more engaging as a result, but they're nowhere near as easy to drive quickly, nor, as it turns out, as quick against the stopwatch. The Club Sport S is a deeply impressive car, all the more so because it's achieved its speed through painstakingly developed handling finesse, rather than horsepower. It's a good friend on track, as rewarding to drive for a complete novice as it is for an experienced hand like Loichter, and an enormously engaging road car. Were it not for some missing seats, it would be a very usable one, too. Of the 400 Club Sport S cars to be built, 150 are bound for the UK, making Blighty the S's biggest market when deliveries start in autumn 2016. Assuming they can get their hands on one, buyers can pick from red, white or black. Prices are yet to be confirmed, but on the continent it'll be around the €40,000 mark. From the driver's seat, that sounds entirely reasonable.